Prince Thomas. Welcome to the Sporting Spree, the Enjogo podcast. And I'm quite excited to have today's discussion with you. We're going to talk about the development pathway in Indian football, meaning the various pathways that aspiring footballers can take if they want to build a career in professional football as players. I'm excited because you have been an aspiring footballer yourself. You did manage to get reasonable success at the youth level, which we will talk about, like your experience, your journey. And now as the head of technical programs at BBFS, which trains more than 5,000 kids every year, you are helping thousands of kids to actually choose the right pathway, make the right career decisions, make the right choices so that they can move closer to they can get the best shot at realizing their dreams of becoming professional footballers. So to start off with, why don't you give us or our audience a little bit of glimpse of your experience? As far as I know, you are probably the only Indian footballer I know who has played and trained at the Masia Academy, the famed Masia Academy, where players like Messi, like Xavi, like Iniesta, like Sergio Busquets developed, right? So why don't you take us through how did that happen and when was this?
Basically, like any other normal kid in India, I was in school, 12th standard one day, and that's when a friend of mine came to me with a paper article which basically had a competition called Nike Where's the Next.
Okay.
And that's when I thought, seems like a long shot, but why not just give it a go? And so it basically asked for a 1-minute video of you playing, doing skills, etc. And I think I had a month to shoot it and send it across. And so I just took the camera wherever I went to play, whether it's school or at home, and just put something together, whatever I thought looked good and looked impressive. And then I sent it in. And then a few months later, a letter came back from Nike saying that, I had been shortlisted to the next round in Delhi. And then off to Delhi it was, and that's when I for the first time met Bhaichung.
Okay.
And luckily, out after being shortlisted to the final round from like over 5,000 videos, they called 15 to Delhi, and then from that 15 I was selected as the only one to go for the camp in La Masia.
Okay. Yeah. So it was, how long back was it when you were in 12th standard?
Yeah, when I was in 12th standard. So this was 2007 August.
So which means 17 years back, Bhaichung was still playing, right?
Yeah.
And it is quite interesting that today, so that was the time when Bhaichung actually selected you to represent India as the only player to go from India to go to La Masia Academy as part of that contest. And today, you are heading the technical programs for Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools. Did you ever imagine that this is going to happen?
No, I never imagined I'd meet Bhaichung. I never imagined I'd be at the academy in Spain. Never imagined joining Bhaichung's academy and then heading the entire technical program. Yeah, so life has completed at least one circle for sure. Yeah.
So you mentioned you were the only one selected from India.
Yeah.
And what happened there at the La Masia Academy?
Yeah, so basically they ran the same competition across a few countries in Southeast Asia, and so they picked one or two from different countries, and they made us as a small team of 18 boys, I think.
Okay.
And they took us for a camp plus few training matches at La Masia. So we were there for a week, almost 10 to 12 days.
And how was the experience? That whole 10 days of experience? Was the training different from what you see today, what you saw then? Of course, at that time it must have been very different, but what about today?
Definitely, the one thing I realized back then was, I think it was the first time I had a proper tactical session ever delivered to me and some proper tactical feedback. So I still remember the drills that the coach did in 2-3 days that got the entire team playing a 4-3-3. In a tiki-taka manner, to say. So I was quite surprised that there was 17 other kids who barely any of them spoke English. And so I couldn't really communicate well, but we were all playing together in a similar fashion within 2-3 days.
And you think the flow was really good?
Yes. So of the 3 friendly matches we played, we won 2 of them with teams that were already training together. So Definitely the talent that they brought was good. Some of them are national players today representing their countries. International players,
Yeah.
correct, representing their country. So the talent was there, but they got us to become a good team really quickly as well. So that was a big eye opener. The amount of difference good coaching can make.
Okay.
So for me, that's when I realized it was the first bit of realization that how much a difference a coach can make in your career as a player as well as a team. So yeah, it was a big eye opener for sure.
So, like you said, some of these players that you were selected from different parts of Southeast Asia, some of them actually went on to become international footballers representing their countries. Like I know of this player, probably you had mentioned once, who
Yeah.
became the captain of Singapore national team.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But what happened to your career as a footballer? You did not end up playing professionally, let alone representing the country. I'm sure you at that time you really wanted to do it. You wanted to represent the nation. You wanted to play at the highest level possible. So what when you reflect back, what was the difference there? How did one of your friends become a national team captain, whereas your playing career did not take off? So how do you see that journey?
A few things, I think, one, I and my support system around me were not aware of the opportunities that were available at the time. We were not generally aware of the football landscape in India as much. And so once I came back, I remember coming back and I was fitter, stronger, faster, and a better player, I'd say, than I'd ever been. I was probably just edging to my peak, I'd say. And I was under 18 as well. So I remember came back, but I came back straight to model exams, 12th standard, physics, maths, chemistry. So we came back in September, we had our exams and then board exams. And so for the next 6 months, unfortunately, not a lot of football happened or training happened. And maybe if I had some guidance, someone to tell me, you have to keep your fitness up so that at least when the exams are over, you can get back into it. So that kind of guidance was not, unfortunately, it was not available to me, at least at the moment. After that, then I had to remember again starting to, almost getting your fitness back from scratch.
After the board exams
The board exams are over. And then my personal idea was, since I didn't know much of what was happening in India, and I always dreamed of playing in the Premier League.
Okay.
For playing for Manchester United. So that's when I decided, why don't I look for something abroad? Maybe I can try and hopefully find a career or some kind of a gig playing football professionally abroad. So that's when I looked at universities in England and tried applying through different universities. Yeah.
So did it happen? Did you find those opportunities there? So did you end up going to England?
Yes. So I applied to 2-3 universities and I got offers from 2-3 and I finally ended up selecting the University of Liverpool.
Okay.
And I selected engineering because, that's just what people did. And so all my friends were taking engineering, and also I liked physics, chemistry and maths. And so I thought, in case the football doesn't work out, I still have something to fall back on. So engineering and football was kind of what I had in mind when I went abroad. So it did happen.
But what about the playing opportunities that you had gone looking for in the first place?
A very similar story and similar mistakes. Looking back now, it's easy to say. So one example was when I reached England, I was still under 18. So I could have in fact given a trial for one of their under 18 teams, and the chance of me getting selected at that level would have been way higher. But I was not aware of the fact how much of a difference it makes when you're below 18 and when you've crossed 18. And so when you cross 18, suddenly the academy system completely shrinks. There are less, under 19 or under 21 programs abroad. And so mostly they consider it senior football after 18. And so senior football, especially in England, is a huge mesh. so many clubs, so many leagues across the entire country, and yeah, it's very easy to get lost, and the level of competition, the level of talent is also quite high. So the reasonable success I'd say I had was in the university team.
Yeah.
So the university itself had 5 teams,
Okay.
and I remember during the trial process, I think there were more than 2,000-3,000 people that turned up to get selected in the Liverpool University Men's Football Club.
Okay.
And again, I got selected. So they picked a bunch of, I think, around 35 during my year. And so the total squad size for all 5 teams were around 70 to 80, with a few coaches for each of the team. So that itself was, I'd say, it was quite a big, milestone for me, because it meant that, okay, I can play it with the kids my age in this country.
Right.
And several of the other team members that got scouted to the university team, they were already playing, semi-professional football at the 3rd, 4th, 5th tiers of English, of the English game. So I realized that I still had a long way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was still some scope and some potential, is what I felt back then.
Yeah. So this is very. This can be very interesting for our viewers, or for the aspiring footballers, because you took a path. Had the courage to actually take the path that you thought would take you closer to your dream of playing for the Premier League. And as we all know, Premier League is the most followed football league in the world, and probably and of course not probably, but for sure in India as well. Yeah. So a lot of these players, young players, when they start playing, the dream of playing in the Premier League, right? And rather than going through the Indian system, footballing ecosystem, you straight away went to England.
Yeah.
So and you managed to get into the university team there as well, which was I would say a good progress. Now, what happened then? Like after that, why? Where did your journey as a player stop, and why did it not translate into, say, playing professionally either in England? And if not in England, why not in India?
I think the first mistake was not taking advantage of the fact that I was under 18. So after that, when I became 19 and above, so then I tried to kind of navigate through this mesh of English football. And so I went and gave trials at a few of the 4th or 5th division clubs here and there. Finally, I think a good year or two later is when something finally happened.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was still like a very amateur club. You can't even call it semi-professional. But that's when, I understood the level at which football runs in this country is way higher than you could imagine. And the type of football that they play also is quite different. It's very physical, it's very quick. And so the fitness level itself, it took me a good year or two to just bring myself there.
Okay.
I was a pretty scrawny kid from Kerala. So yeah, so it took me a while. In terms of where it really got stuck, I'd say is that, once I started playing for the clubs and I started exerting more, I was really pushing my limit.
Okay.
Especially in terms of physicality, because the games were quicker than I have ever played. And so there, I think I didn't have a proper SNC help, if I say. So I knew technically I was decent, tactically I had few more things to learn, but physically I could not cope. And it is in one of those matches when my injury actually happened.
So these are very common factors. These are highly common factors for any aspiring footballer, irrespective of which country they are in. Like being able to continue with your studies, being able to choose the right clubs, getting opportunities in the right teams, managing your physicality, guidance in terms of your strength and conditioning, your nutrition, your load management. Because most injuries happen, serious injuries happen because of load management issues. So irrespective of what pathway you take, these are important factors to be considered, right? Okay, then did you not coming back to India, did you not? So you're saying after injury, what happened? Like you were not able to recover, or did you think, or at any point in time, did you feel that okay, since you realized the difference in the quality of football in the two countries between India and England, did you feel that in India, if I come back, I will be able to become a professional footballer here? Because when you got selected for La Masia, out of 5,000 kids, only one from India. That means you were probably at that time one of the top youth footballers in the country. We have to, assume that.
Yeah. What actually happened after the injury is that, so I remember it was during the last 2 minutes of the game, and then, there was a small ditch in the ground and my knee buckled.
Okay.
And that's when my ACL went. But unfortunately, I was so unaware of injuries and how to take care of the body that even though my knee swelled up, I still walked off the ground, took the train home to my to where I was staying in London at the time, and then in fact it was Christmas vacation, so the season had a small gap, and so I flew back home to India.
Okay.
And so I was walking without a ligament, and
Without any treatment as well.
exactly, without any treatment as well. And so I thought, our age-old, what our coaches say, just give it some time and rest, and it will heal. So that's what I did. But I realized when I went back home that after 10 days, 2 weeks, still I'm not able to run yet, and the swelling hasn't gone down. That's the first time I thought I'll just go visit the doctor and see what the ortho says. And that's when I realized that I needed surgery, that my entire ACL had been torn and some of the side ligaments as well had been damaged. Yeah. So then for me that was a big shock, because I did not ever think that the injury was so serious.
Okay.
Because I was still walking, so I did not think it was something that needed surgery and things. And then when the doctor told me that surgery would take, so much time, the recovery would take, I think back then in India, at least the hospital I went to, the protocol was almost a year to come back to playing, not at your full level, but just to play back, come back to playing football. So that was a big, it was not something I understood, and nobody in my family also had an idea of how serious this injury was and how to tackle it as well. So that's basically how, and by the time I had already finished my course, my student visa was also expiring in a month or two. So basically, that's how my journey in England kind of stopped.
So now, with this entire experience, which you are trying to, use all your learnings. Of course, during those times, I remember 15, 16 years back, BBFS had not even started at that time. And the awareness levels, even when we had started, right, when I came into the football industry for the first time, awareness as far as injuries are concerned, physical management, own fitness management is concerned, the awareness levels were very low, because I was, I was interacting with national team players when we were in discussions with Bhaichung to start this way back in 2010-11. And Bhaichung used to tell us stories about the national team players, about how they themselves were not aware, they were not getting the right guidance. So it was not a problem only at the college or amateur level, but even at the top international. Now, of course, the scene has changed quite a lot, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, there can be a lot of learnings, from your experience. And these experience now you are trying to use for the benefit of young players who are currently aspiring and who are working very hard or preparing themselves to become professional footballers. So these are the factors that they should be aware of.